What is up, everyone, and do I have a special treat for you on my very special Return to New York City previews and predictions, and this is because this is where I keep him in storage. And there he is! It is the Stat Geek, and he's definitely not firing on all cylinders just yet, but he'll get there eventually. So the first game that we're going to talk about is the Carabao Cup final between Arsenal and Manchester City. This past week, we saw City lose out on the opportunity to win a historic quadruple when they lost to Wigan in the FA Cup, which was unacceptable. And now Arsenal has the chance to put their hopes of winning the treble to bed as well. So I guess we're just gonna have to wait to see what happens.
I guess so, Jimmy. Sorry, everyone. I'm a little out of sorts because this guy left me in cold storage for about 8 months.
It was cheaper that way.
I got covered in dust and I have spiders in my butt now. Thanks, dude. So I'm still figuring things out, but I just got in touch with my satellite database and I downloaded a fun stat for you all. It is this: Pep Guardiola has never lost in a final.
What, really?
Yeah.
He's never lost in a final?
Yeah.
So I guess then it doesn't really matter how City got to the final because they were a bit suspect along the way. They had to score a late winner against West Brom. They beat Wolves and Leicester in penalties, so I don't know. And then Arsenal, I mean, they seem to be doing better than City, but they don't necessarily have a good history in this competition.
Arsenal, they always have a howler in them, such as the last time they were in this final, back when it was called the Carling Cup.
Oh, yeah.
Changes dang cup's name every 2 weeks.
Clearly, sponsors don't want to be attached. Wasn't it like the Budweiser Cup before?
I think so. And
was that the FA?
I think it should be called the Stat Geek Cup.
That would be cool.
I don't have any money. I'm a robot boy. Well, look, last time I'm a robot boy with spiders in my butt, and so is Arsene Wenger. They lost to Birmingham 2-1. Obafemi Martins scored a winner. That's funny.
All right, talking about the players, let's focus on one with each team. Kevin De Bruyne is the guy that I want to talk about from City, and then Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is who I want to talk about with Arsenal. Now, De Bruyne didn't play in their loss against Wigan, and I think it showed. Now, they have an above-average team, of course, based on talent, but he elevates everybody around them, and I think that was very, very clear in that game, and he's having one hell of a season. And then Aubameyang, since he's cup-tied with Dortmund, he couldn't play in the Europa League with Arsenal, so I feel like he's going to be well-rested for this one. Any players stand out for you?
No.
Good, I'm glad we have this talk. All right, so there's a couple other things, though, that we should add. Aaron Ramsey, who is known as Mr. Wembley, might not play in this.
Wembley.
And then Petr Cech's going to be out. Aspina's going to be in instead because he's been handling the goalkeeping duties for this competition. However, he's better in penalties than Petr Cech, who can't save a penalty to save his life. So maybe that'll end up being a good thing if they do end up going to penalties.
Yeah, and I mean, it's tricky for Arsenal because they're not a team who can kind of just sit back and absorb pressure. And we've seen the way to beat Manchester City at full strength is to do what Liverpool did and to really go at them and beat them at their own game. Now, Arsenal have the quality up front to do that, but they also have the lack of quality at the back to get taken advantage of when they try and go forward too much. Wow, I still got it, huh?
You still do, yeah.
I still got it.
Also, it was kind of funny that Arsenal lost midweek at home to like a really not so good Norway team.
It's always funny when Arsenal lose.
So Arsenal lost to Ostersund 2-1 at home in the second. They almost lost it. They almost bottled it at home in the Europa League.
Incredible. And boy, what a delight that would have been. I don't care if you're an Arsenal fan or not. It's funny when Arsenal Fan TV has something good to say.
So what do you think? Prediction time.
I think Manchester City are going to win it. Well,
just based on Pep Guardiola never losing in a final?
No, because I mean, stats like that are made to be broken, right? I mean, it's not like he's played 100,000 finals, which would be a good sample size. It's a small sample size. I think stats like those are made to be broken. That said, I think Manchester City are just going to be too good. They're going to be real fired up after that whole FA Cup thing, so I think they're going to take it pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I think getting that first trophy out of the way, too, knowing that you have one in the bag, so they can kind of set up how they're feeling the rest of the way. I mean, they should win the league, so then it's ultimately the Champions League to see if they win the treble.
That's exciting.
I don't see Pep Guardiola letting that opportunity pass him by. And then also Arsene Wenger is a specialist in failure, according to some. But this could be it. This could be his last legitimate chance to win a trophy with Arsenal.
That's true.
Because they're not going to win the league. They're not going to win the FA. They're out of the FA Cup. Not going to win Europa. They're not going to win the Europa League. Yeah. So, I mean, this is it.
Well, he's going to be at Arsenal for 10 more years, so he'll have time. They're just going to give him contract after contract.
That's true.
Because they get it. It's good banter, as we say online, on the ladbible.com websites.
So, score? Do you have a score?
3-1 Manchester City.
I'll say 2-1 Manchester City.
Okay.
And up next, it's Manchester United versus Chelsea. Now, the build-up in this game seems to be more about the managers than the players, but we'll get to the players in a second because Jose Mourinho seems to really dislike Antonio Conte. And I wonder where that stems from. Is it before, when he was still Chelsea manager, Jose Mourinho? When they maybe played against Juventus in some competition that I'm unaware of, or maybe, I don't know, but there seems to be a lot of banter between them in the press. Now, after Antonio Conte and Chelsea beat Manchester United 4-0 last season, Mourinho accused him of over-celebrating, which is right, because Mourinho is the king of over-celebrating. So I don't really know what to make of this. Is it just about selling papers? Is this Mourinho trying to play his Jedi mind tricks? Is Antonio Conte, who's known for doing this as well? It's really hard to say what the benefit is for these two guys going at it, other than taking some attention away from the players and maybe the performances of the team.
Yeah, I think it's quite simple, Jimmy. These are two managers who could be described as messy bitches who love drama. I think it seems like they get themselves riled up, and then they rile the other person up, and they pretend like they're mad, but they love it.
They do love it for sure, and it does add to the intrigue.
Yeah.
When Mourinho was going at Arsene Wenger, you always wanted to watch the sideline to see, are they gonna chest bump? Are they gonna do something?
Yeah. And that didn't seem like a fair fight. Like, Mourinho always seems to kind of be the big dog there, and Wenger's like the sad little puppy who keeps getting beaten down. But with Conte and Mourinho, they're two managers who can both give it as well as they take it.
So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But now let's speak about the players.
Yes.
Manchester United in particular, a little bit all over the place right now.
What are you doing?
Paul Pogba, a ton of drama there. I don't really know what the story is, but there's clearly something going on behind the scenes. And there's a report that just came out recently that has his agent looking to shop him to other teams this summer because he's unhappy there. So those don't just come out of no. I mean,
it's one of those things where it's not fun playing in a team that's not suited to your strengths or fun.
Yeah, it doesn't look like any of the players are having fun. And then you bring Alexis Sanchez into the team, and I just felt like that disrupted any kind of flow or energy that they had. Lingard's probably not getting as many minutes. Martial looks like he's not getting as minutes, or he's got to switch to the other side where he's not having as much success. And that's just going to lead to some discord. Now, Romelu Lukaku can't score against the big clubs, so I don't expect him to score in this one. This is going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And then on Chelsea's side, Morata's not even playing. Willian, when he's on the field, is actually the best player on their team for me over Eden Hazard. I don't know if Conte has found his best 11 guys yet. And that's a problem this far into the season.
They're kind of in similar spots right now, where Mourinho and Conte maybe are butting heads. Just like Arsenal and Spurs are kind of enemies, they share a similar mentality and philosophy of being like never quite good enough.
Are you suggesting that these two guys are more like each other than they really care to admit?
Whoa.
Wow, that would be crazy.
I feel the same way about you and me, Jimmy.
So the last game for both of these clubs, they had a draw. Now, one was spirited. Chelsea had a pretty good draw against Barcelona. They were up 1-0. They probably deserved all 3 points. Maybe a draw was a fair result in that one.
Probably.
Different conversation at the moment. Whereas for Manchester United, they played against Sevilla in Spain. 0-0, I think all things considered on paper, you're like, yeah, I'll take that going back into the second leg to Old Trafford. But for all of us watching the game, we want our 90 minutes of our life back. I'm falling asleep every time I watch Manchester United play, and given the talent that they have on their team, that is unacceptable.
I had more fun than you did watching that game, and I was hibernating in a deep state of turmoil, okay? My mind was blank, and I had more fun than watching Man United versus Sevilla. Why am I doing this?
So I don't have the table memorized for the Premier League. If these teams lose, what happens to them?
Sounds like a case for your boy Stat Geek. Was that funny? I don't know. Here's what's gonna happen, all right? If Chelsea win, Manchester United could drop down to 4th.
Wow.
If Manchester United win, Chelsea could drop out of the top 4. So there's a lot of implications in the table with this game.
And you have to think that both managers want to knock each other out of the Champions League.
Yes.
I mean, they would get a great deal of pleasure from that, and rightfully so. So predictions, what do you got?
I think it's going to be a 0-0 draw. It's going to be a terrible game. It's going to be so bad.
Okay, so I had the benefit of seeing Manchester United play Tottenham at Old Trafford earlier this year.
Wow.
Whatever, a couple months ago.
You get to not spend time in a cold basement with spiders. Cool.
And I was really disappointed by the lack of action in that game. Tottenham probably deserved a tie, but ultimately it was pretty boring. I think Martial came off the bench and ended up scoring the winner, but that was like a goal kick from a header to, there was like, they have way too much talent to not put the ball on the ground and just play.
Yeah.
But it seems like they have more success the more direct they play. And that really goes against what I think Manchester United stands for. So it's really disappointing. And I think a lot of their supporters are disappointed in Jose Mourinho as a manager, because in some ways they were hoping he'd bring that swagger back a little bit. And to start the season, I thought they looked great. They're actually playing. Everybody look like they're having fun. They don't look like they're having any fun right now, and it shows. And I think their body language shows. And I don't think Alexis Sanchez is a good fit. And
I think Mourinho and Pogba are both gone in the summer.
You think so?
I think
That's
so.
a bold call. If Mourinho leaves, though, I feel like Pogba would stay.
That's true.
All right. Anyway, score prediction for me. 0-0 sounds so tasty. I'm gonna say 1-1. We're agreeing on all the results.
We're not too different. We're the same.
Can I change my prediction?
No.
And now we're heading to Italy for Roma versus AC Milan. And the first thing that I want to start with is Roma's performance midweek against Shakhtar. And even though they lost to a good Shakhtar team, well, actually they're good at home in European competitions, they've only played one competitive game in 2018, so they should have been pretty rusty, and Roma couldn't take advantage, even though they had the 1-0 lead that was scored by their 20-year-old superstar in the making, Cengiz Ünder. Now, this Turkish international is on fire. He scored in 4 straight games for the club, and I just feel like he has got a great career ahead of him.
Ooh, speaking of 20-year-olds, though, AC Milan has one of their own, Patrick Cutrone, and he has scored 13 goals this season already, which is the most by a player that young in AC Milan's history.
That's a good stat.
This guy's good.
He is good, and he had an assist in the Europa League to help Milan win 1-0 for them to advance. So yeah, he's on fire. And in fact, his manager Gennaro Gattuso said to him that if he wants to keep this scoring streak alive, that he needs to find a girlfriend and relieve some pressure.
What does that mean?
Well, I think everybody else knows.
Can you tell me?
No, I mean,
I don't know.
Maybe off camera.
No, tell me now, here.
Got to release some tension.
Okay.
By like stretching some
Is
of
it like a this thing? I know what this thing is.
Yeah, it's this thing.
That's weird.
But it's awesome that his manager would tell him to go out and like go have a good time and relax and be yourself and be young, but also be professional. I think there's an element of that. And what I like about Gattuso so far in his reign is that he wants to joke around with the players and somewhat be friends, but when it's time to concentrate, he asks that of them, and they have delivered it.
You need a bit of both. I think especially now in 2018, you can't be the taskmaster, aggressive manager like, say, Felix Magath, because these players, they have a lot more power than they used to, and are maybe saying, you can't talk to me like that. So you need to be a little more friendly and also be able to get them on side.
It seems like that's more of a Jose Mourinho, Paul Pogba thing going on right now, too.
I see that. Yeah, I mean, you played. Have you noticed a transition in what managers are allowed to do?
I would say that it depends on the manager and how much pull they have at the club. Like Arsene Wenger, for instance, runs that whole thing. So you're not going to be able to complain to somebody above him because they're like, he's our guy.
Yeah. Whereas
maybe at Manchester United, where they might seem a little unsure of Jose Mourinho, for example, you might be able to get up to Ed Woodward and be like, you know? So, and it might not even be the players. Sometimes I think the agents have too much power.
Oh, I bet.
Because they're the ones that actually get on the phone and get the ear of it. And the players, it's a bit risky there, because if you say the wrong thing, it could cost you your career. You get a reputation, and that's not something you necessarily want. You don't want a negative reputation.
Wow. Cool insight.
That's why I'm here. Now, speaking of insight, both teams come into this with some decent league form.
Yeah, Roma have won 3 in a row, which finally saw them overtake Inter Milan. And AC Milan have won 4 out of their last 5, drawing the other one, which is actually one of their best runs in recent years, which says a lot about how AC Milan have been
kind of revitalized, under Gattuso.
Maybe they're finally coming back.
No question. And I think the last time these two played, Roma won at the San Siro 2-0 behind goals from Dzeko and Florenzi. But now Dzeko in 2018 has only scored, I think, 3 goals, which is a little bit under what we expect from him.
Maybe that whole Chelsea move that never happened maybe got in his head a little.
I think that stuff does get into your head a little bit. I think it makes a big difference with, am I going to get this new opportunity? I think Aubameyang had a dip in form with Dortmund before he moved to Arsenal, and I think that does. I mean, these guys are human beings, right? We see them a lot. We see them in the FIFA video game. They just seem like robots in some capacity. They're not real human beings.
Why did you point at me? I'm a real boy.
That's what I meant.
I'm a real boy.
You're totally real.
All real boys have spiders in their butts.
Totally. Okay, so prediction.
I think that Roma will take this 3-2. I think it's going to be a banger.
Oh, wow. I think Roma is going to take this one I do. I think it's gonna be 1-0 to Roma. I'm gonna stick with the.
Is that 3 predictions in a row we picked the same?
Did you pick Roma too?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Don't put me back in there.
And now we head to France for the big one, Le Classique between PSG and Marseille. And maybe for the first time all season, we can say that the hottest team in France is a club not named PSG, because it is Marseille, who have yet to lose a game in 2018. And I think that's mainly due to this guy that I couldn't pronounce his name correctly last time I previewed Marseille. It's Mikko Toivonen. And he has, what are his stats again?
Oh, I got this one. He has 7 goals in his last 4 games. That's taking him to 15 goals and 10 assists on the season. And sure, it's Liga, but that's good.
That's really good. But at Newcastle, he didn't do so well for us.
No, he was garbage.
He only has 2 caps for the national team. It's surprising, don't you find that? I mean, he clearly has the talent.
Oh, I think this is the first season where he's really establishing himself as like a consistent top flight player. Because I feel like before he maybe showed flashes of it. But I mean, look at that France team. It's stacked.
It's stacked.
He's had some personality issues reputation-wise, and it's not like the French team needs any more difficult personalities.
All right, let's talk about PSG then.
Okay.
It seems like they're a bit rattled. Let's just say defensively, since their loss to Real Madrid in the Champions League. Now they gave up 3 goals in that game. Then they played Strasbourg. Following that, they gave up 2 goals there. So 5 goals in 2 games. Kind of uncharacteristic of them.
Maybe there for the taking.
But they have Cavani. They have Neymar. They have Mbappe up top. I just don't know if Marseille can really slow those 3 guys down.
And Angel Di Maria, Jimmy. He
That's
scored
right.
10 goals in 2018. He's got to be in there.
Yeah, he's definitely flying under the radar. I mean, that is a great stat. Pulling him out of your spider butt yet again.
That's how I do it.
Now, my big problem, though, ultimately with PSG is their manager, Unai Emery.
Sure.
I'm just not the biggest fan. I mean, not even tactically. It just feels like he's not a player's guy.
Sure. And you would know. You could see that on the sideline, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like Neymar joined the team because he wanted that family atmosphere. There's been some stories out there that he didn't like playing at Barcelona because after practice was over, after games, everybody would just go back to their homes and not interact with each other.
Well, he loves his family. I mean, he has a tattoo of his sister. Weird. And his dad's like his agent.
But then also at PSG, he's got Dani Alves, who he loves, obviously, Thiago Silva. I know he was pissed when Lucas Moura left to go to Spurs. He loves having guys to be around and to coexist with once you're off the field. And I feel like with Unai Emery, I don't think he creates that environment. I really don't. I feel he seems so professional. Though he might be good at the X's and O's, he might be good at breaking down opponents, but I don't see any of the players after they score going to point to their manager and giving him a big hug.
You want like a
thank you.
Jurgen Klopp sort of guy.
I do feel like that would make a difference. I feel like that's the one thing that they're missing. That's the X factor that you really can't put your finger on. And obviously with the Cavani Neymar stuff that was going on, it seems like they've mended all that. And I'm sure it got blown up in the media because that's what the media does. And then YouTube goes on and we just blow it, try to amplify it too, just to get clickbait.
It's our fault.
Yeah, it's our fault. Totally our fault. So it just feels like that's something that PSG is lacking, even though I feel like they're going to get past Marseille in this game. I have a caveat though, because they play against each other again in the Coup de France 4 days later. If you're PSG, you have a 12-point lead at the top of Ligue 1. You're going to win that. Do you rest your guys so that you can win this one-off in the Coup de France quarterfinals against Marseille? And then on the flip side, if you're Marseille, what do? Because you're pretty much well positioned in third. Do you try to win that Coup de France quarterfinal as well a couple days later? Decisions. So my prediction, taking all this into consideration, where I flip-flopped about 17 times here, I feel like PSG has more depth. They spend a lot of money to have that depth. They have to have that depth to compete in multiple competitions. And I think that depth that doesn't usually get to play is going to want to perform when they get their opportunity. So I think PSG is going to win 3-1.
I'm going to go for a bold one here. I'm going to call for a Marseille win 2-1. I think they're going to really want it. And they know that if they can beat PSG in this game, that's going to set the tone for the Cup quarterfinal and make PSG a little more afraid there. And they're like, okay, we can get in their heads if we win this game in the league.
We didn't agree. No high five.
Ooh, what's this?
And now we head to Spain for Sevilla versus Atletico Madrid.
Okay.
And now what I find interesting in this matchup, and I'm going to start with Sevilla, is how hot and cold they are this season. At home, they've only lost 1 league game all season. Actually, I think it's 1 game in all competitions.
That's insane.
But on the road, like a completely different team, and I
Yeah.
just don't understand how that's possible. Now, there was a team in MLS. I'm going to give you an MLS reference here. Portland Timbers, maybe 2 seasons ago, undefeated at home, couldn't win 1 game on the road that whole season. It doesn't make any sense. Does it make that much of a difference? Does having the home fans or sleeping in your own bed make that much of a difference?
It's the same ball. Goals are the same size.
It's just like, it's a mentality thing, and I don't really understand why teams struggle. I understand struggling away every once in a while, but not to win 1 game is crazy. That's the Portland
and going
Timbers.
to play away at like, there's a lot of garbage home supports out there, you know? It's not like every team is gonna be like a 70,000 person crowd that's shouting at you.
Anyway, this was just me having the opportunity and you
Yeah.
to say that Sevilla are the Portland Timbers of La Liga. Also, MLS preview is dropping next week. Yeah, you're welcome. I don't know if you're going to be involved though.
Probably not.
Nah,
You're leaving.
Back in storage.
Oh. So something weird happened, Jimmy. Last week in the Champions League, Sevilla rested their top scorer in all competitions. He's got 15 goals. We saw him Ben Yedder against Manchester United. No injury. People are kind of confused about it. What's up with that?
Well, I don't know what is up with that. I find that really odd, and maybe it impacts the team on the weekend because, I don't know, maybe he just thought that they're so good at home they don't need their leading scorer. But
that
it'd just be
sounds like baloney.
Yeah, and maybe something happened during the transfer window. Maybe he tried to get out, and Montella was like, no, you're our top scorer, and then it didn't work out.
Or
and then he
maybe
started
it's
to complain.
nothing and he'll play on the weekend and score and we'll look like big dummies.
But I think this is going to be a rematch for Atletico Madrid because Sevilla just knocked them out of the Copa del Rey. They won both games.
Damn.
They won at home and on the road, which is not easy because Atletico has been fantastic at home this season.
Hot dog.
And fun fact for you, Kevin Gamero just scored the game winner midweek so Atleti could advance in the Europa League because that's what he does. Atleti won 1-0 because that's what Atleti does. They win a lot of games 1-0. And I feel like on the road though, I don't know, prediction on this one? You got a prediction?
Oh, I think that it's gonna be a cagey affair. I think it's gonna be 1-1 is what I'm gonna go for.
1-1. You took my score.
Sorry.
I'm gonna say 0-0.
Just to be different.
Maybe just to be a little bit different. It's the same result though.
I get it. Nice!
And now here's some other games we'll be keeping our eyes on this weekend. Like Bayer Leverkusen versus Schalke because it's 4th versus 6th in the Bundesliga. And actually, both of these teams are just playing for 2nd because Bayern Munich has already run away with this league. And it's not even really these 2 teams that I really want to watch. It's just a 20-year-old Jamaican international, Leon Bailey, who scored 9 Bundesliga goals so far. He's got a great future ahead of him, and I hope that he can continue to do so because CONCACAF represents. And what about you? What are you going to be looking for in this game?
That kid's a baller, but I'm looking with my 4 eyes at Schalke, who have hit their annual shaky patch. This happens once a year. They haven't won consecutive games since last year, and that's what's seen them drop from 2nd all the way to 6th. So if you hit an annual shaky patch, maybe you gotta look inside and figure out why that's happening, you know?
And Feyenoord versus PSV Eindhoven because it looks like we have a real title challenge in our hands in the Eredivisie after all because the lead for PSV at the top is only 5 points over Ajax. And if they drop this game and Ajax wins, it's only down to 2, so there is a lot riding on this. However, PSV did win here in the Cup 2-0 not too long ago, but this time feels a little bit different.
Yeah, Jimmy, the stakes are very, very high, okay? Feyenoord have not lost at home since October, and if they win, PSV's lead at the top could be cut to just 2 points. Ajax are right back in there. I would say, Jimmy, that this is what we would call squeaky bum time, and trust me, I know a lot about squeaky bums, because my bum is squeaky on account of all the spiders that are crawling around in it.
And then we got Besiktas versus Fenerbahce, and this is going to be a fantastic game for a lot of different reasons. However, I fear for Besiktas a little bit because they just got hammered by Bayern Munich in the Champions League 5-0. I know they got an early red card, but they probably weren't going to win that game anyway in Germany. And now they're going to need a miracle in leg 2 to go through. And I just think they bagged that game. They bagged that second leg and start focusing on the league. And it starts with this one. They're currently in 4th, which is somewhat surprising because they've been pretty good in the league.
Yeah, they've lost less games than the top 2 teams, but they've drawn over 1/3 of their games, and that's why they're low down there. So you got to start turning some of those draws into wins because according to my calculations, 3 points are better than 1.
And then Fenerbahce, they haven't lost a game in all competitions since September, but they're in 3rd. I mean, it's just Is that a testament to how tough this league is?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, so both teams need all 3 points, which means this is going to be a great game to watch.
A draw does not cut it.
And then we're going to be watching Cardiff City versus Bristol City, except I don't really remember why. Maybe
because they both have city in their name and you like cities?
I do like that. It's the Severn-side derby, I think. Too.
Whoa.
And I guess, wait, now I'm remembering 2nd versus 6th.
Pretty good.
So
And Bristol City have good gifts.
Yeah.
Online.
Is it GIFs or GIFs?
Does not compute. Do not ask me that question.
And then we're gonna head to Mexico for Club America versus my Tijuana Cholos Solos, because Club America is undefeated. They're the only undefeated team left in Liga MX through 8 games, 4 wins, 4 draws, very good at home, and they're hosting this one. And then my Cholos Solos are in 8th. They've got 3 wins, 3 draws, 2 losses, only a +2 goal difference, and they're not very good on the road, so I'm not holding out much hope, but they're my Liga MX squad, so that's who I'm pulling for.
I respect that, Jimmy. And Club America, they finished in 3rd in the Apertura. Right now they're in 1st in the Clausura, so that's something.
Your Spanish is...
I phoned that one in. I'll be honest. I phoned it in. I was thinking about the Spiders.
And then finally, we can have our eyes on the Sydney derby between Sydney FC and the Western Sydney Wanderers. Now, I know that you guys are gonna be like, well, you have a Western Sydney Wanderers flag at home in your office, and you're right. I do. It was given to somebody that was nice and kind who came to my pickup game in Sydney last year.
Was it me?
No, you weren't there.
I didn't do that?
No, you
Okay.
didn't. You didn't make it. But I'm not going for them because if Sydney FC can win this game, they have a big, giant lead at the top.
11 points to be exact.
You're right.
Boom, stat, yes!
If they win, then it gives the Brisbane Roar a chance to get into the playoffs instead. So I'm really pulling for Sydney FC in this one.
All I have to say is that this is a match that will be so fun, it'll make you say, crikey! Was that good?
That's good.
Was that good analysis?
That was great analysis.
Okay.
All right, guys, that is all we got. Big thank you to Stat Geek for joining us.
Thank you, Staggy.
Who do you think we should have as the game of the week? Like I tell people, if they predict the right score for this game, then they have a chance to win some warm ball or
Does
swag.
that have to be one of the ones we just talked about?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
So what do you think? Arsenal, Man City, Manchester United, Chelsea, Roma, Milan.
Hard to look past
PSG,
the cup
Marseille.
final.
Cup final. Okay,
Hard to
so
look
that is
past
it.
it.
Predict the right score for Arsenal versus Manchester City in the Carabao Carling Cup or whatever it's called, and you'll have a chance to win some warm baller swag.
I would like that because I've had this same shirt for about 6 years now. Remember this shirt?
Yeah.
Same one.
Same one.
Same one.
Yeah.
Never washed it. I don't know how to. Where do I put the liquid in? I usually drink it. And then I eat the Tide Pod as well. It's called a chaser.
Chaser.
Yeah. Humans, it'll kill humans.
All right,
I
he's
can have
done.
it.
He's done. We're out of here. See ya.